ABLF Talks Hybrid as we come to you live from the Dubai Cares Pavilion here at Expo 2020. Hello to all of you who are joining us virtually and from around the world and here as well at the pavilion. Now, the digitization of media has seen the industry transform in radical ways in the last decade. And today at ABLF Talks, we've gathered a panel of some of the region's leading media and finance figures who are going to be taking a look at the impact of this digitization and what is next. Mohammed Burhan is the CEO of CNBC Arabia, the Arab world's leading and only 24-hour Arabic language financial and business news information channel, presenting in-depth and up-to-the-minute coverage of regional and international financial and business affairs from an Arab economic perspective. Mohammed has held the helm of CEO since 2010, and he is a veteran journalist with more than 25 years of experience creating, producing, and presenting television documentaries and shows on various Arab TV platforms, including Dubai TV and Sharjah TV. And in addition, he's published numerous articles and studies in Khaleej, Al-Bayan, and Al-Quds Al-Arabi newspapers on political and cultural affairs. Please welcome Mohammed Burhan.
Thank you very much.
Alan Griffin, sitting all the way over there, is the CEO of Khaleej Times, an award-winning news leader who has operated in senior business roles in the UK, EMEA, Asia, and the US. In his current role, he's on a mission to evolve one of the most prestigious news brands in the Middle East. There'll be a lot to talk about with that. Alan has worked also with the FT, with Reuters, AOL, Time, and Forbes, and is one of the first in the region to receive an innovation grant from Google News Innovation for a project based on voice. Welcome, Alan. Great to have you with us. Manoj Matthew, sitting next to him, is the Executive Vice President, Territory Head for MENA, Turkey and Pakistan for Zee Network, as well as a regional board member. In his current role, he leads the product and revenues of over a dozen pay channels, 2 free-to-air channels, the studio vertical, and the OTT platform Z5's advertising and distribution in the region. He's got over 25 years of experience in creating and monetizing content, OTT, film business, building brands, growing businesses, startups, and powering turnarounds. Manoj has been with Zee Network in the Middle East since 2004, handling various portfolios, including COO, Chief Content and Creative Officer, SVP and Business Head for the South Asia channels, Vice President for Marketing and Convergence, and Vice President of Marketing and Corporate Communications. Welcome, Manoj Matthew. And last but not least, Olivier Crespin is the co-founder and chief executive officer for Zand. Since taking on his role in 2018, he's focused on leveraging hybrid digital banking strategies to establish Zand as the first fully digital bank in the region to combine both retail and corporate banking. Crespin brings over 20 years of extensive experience and leadership roles in digital banking and fintech across Latin America, the US, and Asia. He recognizes the need for a customer-centric approach to humanize the banking industry. And prior to Zand, Crespin has been an award-winning leader at CIMB Bank, DBS, and Citigroup. Please welcome Olivier Crespin. Wonderful to have you all with us, gentlemen, today. Now, Mohammed, if I can start with you. Digitization in media, of course, started well before 2020, but some say that the pandemic has been the perfect catalyst to really drive that push forward. So would you agree with that? And what do you think the impact of the last 2 years has been on digitization?
Thank you for the opportunity. Actually, I would like, first, let me put you in the picture, because what happened over the past 2 years was unexpected. It was out of imagination even. I remember the first early days of maybe January 2020 or maybe December, we were watching the footage coming from China with empty streets, people are dying on the streets, and as a media we started asking, is that could be moved here? If it will move here, what we would do as a media people, what our reaction should be. It's not related only to the product, but it's related to the mechanism where we create that product that would affect us as well. So I remember that early days, we had a kind of meeting in CNBC for the team, and we said, guys, what do you think? They said, and the great answer I get, nothing. I said, what? Nothing. They said the last pandemic happened 100 years before. There was no TV, and we don't have a kind of mechanism or a kind of set plan to face this. So let's try to think all together what we do. Actually, at that meeting, I remember still that we went for the maximum. We said, are we able, if we will be locked at our houses, are we able to have the studios in the presenter's house? They said, it's crazy. At the end of the day, the TV is a prestigious tool, and you cannot have we said, let's try it. And by the mid, actually, of 2020, we were broadcasting from every single presenter house. So that is because of the digitization. That was actually the main dynamo to drive that. So from my point of view, the pandemic did very big changes, not on the media practices, but on the media mindset. And now we are still seeing the early signs of that. I'm sure the coming 5 years will be full of changes.
Just to elaborate on that, when you say the media mindset, what do you mean by that?
The basics of, for example, the basics of having, as we said, TV is prestigious thing.
Right.
You need to have a studio to have a news. That's not right anymore. You can have your news from the bed at your at your bedroom as a presenter. So now the value is for the information. It's not anymore for the tool. The tool now, and from my point of view, I guess that the mobile is the TV. Yeah. The TV now, for example, we started recently some kind of exercise to see our presence on the new media, and I have discovered that 90% of our viewers watching us on mobile, not TV anymore. Mm-hmm. So that's what I meant by the mindset. Absolutely. You don't stick to, you should, as a media guy, you don't stick to the tool, you don't stick to the message, you stick to the needs of the market, yep. Needs of the viewers.
Absolutely. And coming to you, Alan, to that point, as you say, part of your mission is to revolutionize Khaleej Times. So talk to us about what have been the biggest challenges and advantages of, in fact, going digital. How has Khaleej Times embraced the digital journey?
I think the last 2 years has probably been difficult for most media companies, but also an enormous opportunity for most companies. We operate a newspaper, physical newspaper, we still print, and we've obviously got the digital offering. In that time, we've had the companies stop printing for a while because of fears because of COVID, but on the flip side, we were seeing record audiences gravitate to us from a digital perspective. So for us as an organization, how do you map and change to that? So on one hand, just building on Mohammed's point, everyone's watching on mobiles, but actually the presentation on mobile isn't necessarily in landscape. It's better actually in portrait, which actually cascades into a workflow in terms of how do people shoot video and then upload it on which platforms and presentations. So for me, that's fascinating to see that change. Whereas meetings and newsrooms have gone from more of a landscape talk about how wide the shot could be into it's got to be narrow and on a person, which is fascinating to see. To battling with COVID in terms of sending news reporters out into the world with PPE gear into the streets to actually go to hospitals to see what's happening. So from that perspective, there's fascinating human stories. As a business, it's how do you manage those transitions and actually build on that innovation so you're gathering more audience. We want to build bigger audiences, but then we're engaging with them better and they're becoming more loyal. And how you do that, obviously, is understanding their habits. So one of the other things that's excited me about the last couple of years is generational change. We were talking about inclusion earlier, and actually seeing grandparents on Zoom talking about the news is quite an amazing feat. And that's a transformational change. Us as a news organisation, obviously, we want to help and adapt and inform people and build trusted news that people can trust. So it's been a fascinating couple of years.
Absolutely. And, you point to something that is really important, because this change for digitization has very much been driven by changes in consumer behavior. So with that, Manoj, I want to come to you and ask you about the way that, we consume news and entertainment. It's evolved so much. And so talk to us about how Zee Network has embraced that particular evolution and how you see things changing further still.
So at Zee, we run a bunch of news channels, international as well as back in India. So we have about 14 of them back in India for various languages. And of course, we have an entire entertainment vertical, both linear and OTT. So that's been a big spread. So news has evolved the way Burhan and Alan has kind of played it on. It's very similar to what we saw it at Zee. Before I start off, one thing that was very fascinating was the pandemic actually did what, I keep telling at many forums, what a chief technology officer or probably thank you. So the pandemic actually did what a chief technology officer or HR head of a company couldn't do. And I hope we don't need another pandemic to really change the way we think and we operate at a corporate level. And I think many business leaders have gone ahead and CTOs have struggled to do what they had done in 2 years, and similar to HR officers. They've had the brunt of it, but they've come out very strong in the business side of it. And that's what I keep telling people. We saw huge consumption going up in OTT, and we've had challenges in terms of filming. We couldn't film across. A lot of filming unit, be it movies or series, were stopped during that point of time. In fact, some of the movies we started off in 18, 19 are still under production, hopefully to be released somewhere in H2 of this year, which meant at a business level, hopefully better planning and can be immediately adapt to change. I was listening to the previous session where Amir was talking about how quickly can we adapt to change. Do we really need all our business plans of 5 years, 3 years, and 1 year? Can we do that in a week, 2 weeks? If you actually had watched, and probably, fact is stranger than fiction, if you actually watched Contagion, 2011, they exactly said what 2019 would probably look like, including the words social distancing and wash your hands for 20 seconds. Mm-hmm. So, that is very fascinating how, art imitates life in some sort of form. So what we have done is a lot of pre-planning. Can we change locations of filming immediately if need to be? Is there backups required both technologically as well as in terms of human resource, be it at the crew level or an actors? I have 3 Arabic series on floor, all of them delayed by about 16 odd months because various key crew or cast has fallen, to COVID. So, there has to be changes. Even, of course, we have to figure out how to change a script if it's fiction, if something has seriously happened to one of the cast.
Right, absolutely. Everyone has had, challenges related to COVID and how do you produce in that situation, and it forces you to either put people first or to become more innovative. So with that, Olivier, I would love to come to you and talk about, how the changing consumer behavior and expectations, how that is leading what you are going to be doing at Zand as well, the parallels that you see between the media and the finance and banking industries.
Yes, thank you, Sally. A very good question. And I think there are a lot of parallels between what's happening in the media and what's happening in finance as well, right? Because the pandemic is touching everybody. And what we can see in the last few years with COVID is acceleration is accelerating. People are, expectation of people are different. And when I look at finance, when we ask people, what are you expecting? And I think it's the same in what they're expecting from media. They want to get access to information anytime, anywhere, right? It has to be simple. Then they need to get the same in finance. You need to be able to transact anytime, anywhere. They want to get access to personalized kind of information. And I think that's happening as well in the media, more and more personal kind of touch. They also want to get access to the best information or services. And at the same time, they want to trust, right? So the trust of the media is very important as well. So because there is so much information available everywhere, which one is reliable, which one is not? So to be in a media we have a kind of reputable name, it provides this kind of trust that we need. And the same for banking, right? You have a lot of appearing, but someone who has a banking license will be trusted more than someone who doesn't have. So there is a lot of similarities between the two, I would say.
Absolutely. And, of course, there are those newer technologies also that are driving digitization as well. Talk to us a little bit about that and how that is going to give more access and give more access to those who don't have it.
Yes, so obviously now you can make things available, and it was mentioned, right? You can even do your TV program from your bedroom and so on, right? But also from the receiving end, right? You have a lot of new technology. The processing power that we have is accelerating. The speed is a kind of Web 3.0 coming as well. All this, and what's happening right now in a metaverse as well, where the media will probably need to go as well as finance, to follow where the people are and to make sure that we can create ecosystem right across different partners to be able to provide the right information and service to people.
I love that you mentioned the metaverse. It will be really interesting to see that transition happening as well, which everybody is talking about right now. I have to come to you, Alan, because you giggled when you heard about the metaverse. What does that mean to you? This is Web 3.0. What does all of that mean to you? What does that mean for media?
I think it's a fascinating challenge to A, understand it, and B, then relate it to your business. So I think we've seen this in the past when people have come up with Web 1.0, 2.0, 3.6, whatever. I think Metaverse is along that chain. How do you actually apply it to your business? And that really intrigues me in terms of that virtual universe, how much people occupy it. I'm sure for Zee and for gaming companies, they're already further along the path. For a news company, how can we get people to consume and to interact with news in the Metaverse is going to be a fascinating element and something that we as a news company need to innovate around and play with it. And that's part of the charm and the opportunity of what we do, is that we get an opportunity to play with technology and to different audience experiences to try and understand it. So for me, that's a work in progress, but a really interesting work in progress.
For sure. And if I can come back to you, Mohammed, let's talk a little bit about the way that people are not just receiving the news as they used to. People are now reacting to it as instantly as they receive it as well. How does that impact you? How does that impact your business and the way that you create news and the way that you react to your audience's views as well?
Actually, I'll go beyond this even. They are not only reacting, they are making the news. And that's the most important thing. Let's say 80% now from the interesting news is made by the people. And it's not made only, it's broadcasted by the people. So when you look, for example, to the news agenda, let's, for example, the past week or the week before, when the Moroccan kid, the story started, it's started from a mobile shooting. And the story went on all media, and it turned to be a big issue everywhere in the world. So from my point of view, what happened over the past 10 years was incredible, and the people now is more involved in not only receiving the news, but making it. Everybody now has in his hand a camera, and then he can make the news, and he can make it the top of the agenda of any big TV or big newspaper. So they are forcing now our agenda to be in the line with their interest. In the past, before 2000 maybe, the agenda of, or the main agenda of the country, news agenda, was put by either the political party or the newspaper related to the political party. Now it's not like that at all. What is making the agenda of the news is the people themselves. If you are out of that, you will lose your audience and you will lose the interest in the media market.
Yeah, absolutely. Alan, you had your hand up.
I did. That's a fascinating point about how newsrooms have changed. Now we're looking at social media and social trends in order to tap in for our news agenda, to the point. I suppose there's also danger there in terms of Trumpism in the past, COVID, rumours, lies, and how you actually sift through that becomes more important, and how you take, to your point, that trusted news space is so key for brands, and especially for us.
Absolutely. Manoj, if you have something particular at Zee Network around that as well, you know, how does the audience inform what it is that you're putting out? And also, you know, I want to get to also OTT streaming platforms and how they have been impacted in terms of programming at Zee Network as well.
So on the first part of news or news gathering part of it, we used to use a lot of technologies for news gathering. Otherwise, it was stringers in the ancient method of linear news. And if you see, actually, the entire concept of citizen journalism was born in about 2000s, you know, when Facebook and the rest of social media initially sprouted. And we were kind of encouraging, it was more of stringers. So instead of having, let's say, stringers across major cities of India, you had stringers across almost all major towns. That was the initial starting of citizen journalism. So like Spider-Man very rightly put it, with great authority comes great responsibility, and that's what Burhan was also trying to say. There is a lot of amount. I mean, in India today, we have actually seen the sad side of a powerful media getting into riots, you know, and we have something very popular in India called the WhatsApp University. Stories on WhatsApp are more powerful than reputed or, you know, trusted media. And there is always a narrative when it comes to media. Media are usually owned businesses, houses, or commercial houses, right? So there is a part of narrative to it. So I think as individuals, as consumers, we get more options, but we got to really sieve through it to see what is exactly truthful to the entire nature of it. And I think we should all use our common sense to another probable degree to really understand what is happening at news levels. When it comes to entertainment, it gets a bit more simpler. Of course, there are narratives there. But when we go back to the OTT platform, we saw a lot of uptake, both in subscription and terms of watch time in OTT. This was April to September of 2020. Unfortunately, and this is what I've spoken to a lot of colleagues, be it in mainstream, let's go to the Alphabets or the Googles or the YouTubes or the Facebooks of the world, they did see a lot of consumption time going up. Unfortunately, for many of us, and we have, all of us, be it Alan or Burhan, we have a lot of dependence on the advertising world. We did see a lot of consumption going up, but we saw a great fall in advertising revenue. That was a very strange anomaly during that 6 to 8 months. I mean, just imagine viewership going up or readership going up or views on webs, your page views going up, your monthly average users going up, but there is no revenue to it. Spending was completely spragged because people were not going out and actually spending it. And then at a commercial call, when as business people, we found it difficult to deploy either technology or people to gather more stuff. So it is always a catch-22 situation. So there has to be a good match between business, the commercial angle, of course, and the entertainment part of it. Now, when it comes to news, mobile was leading the way, But when it comes to entertainment, with the quality of production, I mean, I doubt any of us would want to see a Z5 show or a Netflix show on a small screen, until unless you are traveling from a place to a place. So you will see places where commuting time, London or India, or any of the places where you spend a lot of time on a railway or on bus, people tend to watch, and there are phablets and bigger mobiles. But in places like Dubai and smaller towns, you want to go back home and watch TV and have that production experience on a larger screen. So when a lot of people ask me, is TV is dead? No, I think I was very satisfied with the 21-inch 30 years ago. I'm very unsatisfied with my 86-inch right now. That's the story of television.
That is definitely a good point. Olivier, one of the big themes that is coming up here, particularly as we talk about news, and similarly with finance and banking, is trust. So we want more access, we want things to be instant, but how do we make sure that they're secure and that we have the privacy and that we can trust, our devices, to be able to bank easily on them, but at the same time, we're not going to get hacked. We're not going to get, all of that is secure at the same time.
Yes, so that's obviously a key focus, right, on banking, because when you have a bank, right, a digital bank, obviously you have to safe keep the money of people. So you can be subject to attack from hackers. So we have to focus a lot on cybersecurity. In fact, in the bank, we have close to 7-8% of the people are focusing on cybersecurity, having the latest tool. I think Zand previously in one of the panel previously talked about this kind of tools that we are using as well, right? So a lot of encryption, a lot of control about the transaction, what's happening, the transaction pattern and so on, to be able to identify very quickly if there is any compromission, your network has been compromised or not.
Now, we have a lot of questions coming in from the audience, so thank you to everybody who's sending them in. We have Lisa Marie from Amman. She puts the question to both Alan and Mohammed. She says, as an aspiring journalist, I want to know, how has the shift away from traditional media affected the credibility of news? Mohammed, do you want to take that first?
Sure. Actually, this is one of the main challenges we have faced over the past years. As I said, the people start making the news, but on the other hand, you cannot carry this news unless you are sure that it's credible, because when you put it on your platform, you are sending it as a trusted message.
But do you feel like people are they're just looking to social media, they no longer need to look to traditional news channels
that's not
Khaleej
the
CNBC?
case, because the main now still, the credibility is still with the official media, is on the top. But on the other hand, it's not related to the credibility only. It's what is the fastest route for the news? The fastest route of the news is the social media.
Right.
So Now, what most of us, even this is my habit, my personal habit, I see the news on social media, but I don't take it for guarantee. I wait till I see it on screen or on newspaper, on an official website, then I can trust it. Even the most important news, I cannot react to it unless I am sure that it's carried by a trusted platform.
And I think a lot of people need to hear that, you know, because we see something on WhatsApp and we forward it. And for us, you know, as journalists who are experienced, you know to check before you say anything at all. Alan, if you wanted to add to that.
I think there's two parts to that. One is social creates echo chambers of people's views, which is dangerous in some respects, especially if they're rumours or lies. I think for the news industry, there's almost a nuclear arms race here, which you have to be quick, but you have to be accurate. And everyone's competing to do that and competing against noise. But social does give us amazing platforms to reach audiences all around the world, which years ago you wouldn't have imagined. And that really helps us to build bigger audiences and to grow the brand and to put our content in front of people. And that's been the opportunity, if you like.
A really good question here from Kenneth from Bahrain, who's saying, with digitization so rampant, do you think that we will one day consume media directly created by AI with no human intervention or contribution for the matter?
We already
but without
do.
any...
Yeah.
Okay.
So I used to work at Reuters, and they were already doing business news automated through AI. So it does happen. Will it happen more? I think and I hope that people still want those trusted sources where people have verified and people can trust that.
But in the first instance, there is a human being who's reporting on the story.
No.
No.
No, it's
Explain
literally taking signals from computers and then turning it into
That's
news.
it.
Yeah.
That's it. It's already happening.
Yeah.
But again, you know,
But that's very specific and very niche as
Right.
opposed to general news, obviously.
right. Okay.
This is my question. Do you think that the whole chain in one stage will be AI, from the making the news till broadcasting it? It could be.
I think our industry is based on kind of talent and judgment, and I think that
That's what
reinforces some of the
exactly.
value and the trust, and that's important.
The human
That's
touch.
exactly the human judgment. This is what I would like to
think a
shed light
train being late, you can automate into news. I think something happening on the street, you can't.
on. Right.
Did you want to add to that, Mohammed?
A judgment is the most important thing. Still, as I said, at the end of the day, you need the human touch in the news. You cannot, news as a product is a human product. So
Yeah.
you need to have the human touch in it. This is what I think. One of the aspects is the judgment, as you said.
If we can just take a look at, Olivier, the way that you can use media to help drive financial inclusion. You know, this is something that Zand is very passionate about. How does media help shift understanding, mindset, and narratives there, and even culture there?
Yeah, I think it's very important, media, because you know what to realize that particularly when you look at digital banking, when you look who is Googling on digital banking, is much more Googling on digital banks than in traditional banking, right? So there is an interest. So what we believe is that there is no real education on finance, right? At school, we don't learn really how to save money, how to borrow, how to invest, right? At least it's not the basic kind of education we have. In family, we don't really talk about money. Very often it's kind of taboo. So everybody is on his own to learn about finance. And I think the media can help, right, to educate about finance. When you start educating, you have literacy. So you can have financial education, lead to financial literacy. That obviously is going to lead to financial inclusion. When people become more familiar, they can get access to bank account, they can get access to loans to start a business and so on. So that's really key. And I think that there is a big role to play between media and banks. And I remember a friend when he started, it was the first, in fact, digital bank in Europe, Boursorama. And how did he start? He said, what people go, it was at the beginning of the web, people go to the web to look for information. That was what you go for. And then so he created a site of information to tell people what is an IPO, what is an equity, what is all this. And then some brokers start advertising on it. And then they merge with the broker and it become a big digital platform for financials. So there is I really believe, and this is established, right, that finance and media can combine, and because there is a need. There is a lot of need. There is a lot of need for information. Everybody is searching for the same things, and that's how we potentially can collaborate.
Right, exactly. We have another question here. This one is from Arnab from India. Asking, if you want to take this one, Manoj, asking about the subscription model for media over the advertising model for revenue.
Well, so personal opinion, I am actually a believer that if you are consuming content, you got to pay for it. So if you look at any successful media business world over, be it in news or be it in entertainment, you need to pay for content. Advertising basically is about 30%, maybe even less, of your entire yearly revenues. And the moment it goes anywhere else, I mean, today, if you look at large, Middle East is a place where a lot of free-to-air channels operate. Today, if you see the leader in the business, NBC, is going towards pay with Shahid, their OTT product, or with even NBC going pay, because they cannot afford the cost of a content production by just advertising and depending on a third party who may or may not advertise on your medium. But if you have a subscriber and a subscriber is paying for consumption of content, you are secure on that particular part of the business, provided your content is worth watching and worth subscribing to. So I'm a definite S-word or paying for media person. It's like, I mean, you and I know that a lot of us, especially from the media and we get a lot of invites to go for a premium of movies and premieres. We look at the movie and then go. That's why when you get a free ticket, the halls are usually empty. That's the reason why.
Right, okay. This is a question from Tariq in Egypt. Mohammed, if you want to take this one. About the digitization of media, how has that affected job creation and employee churn?
Actually, yes, that is very challenging a question. Why? Because at the end of the day now, the style for the past, let's say, decade or 2 decades, our media universities courses were built on something far away from the new media and digitization. So most of the graduated people now, even these days, they are not getting any added value from their studies. And this is very big problem. So what you need now, you need to combine the digital expertise even from the technology universities or from any other institutions.
The universities themselves are struggling to catch up, right?
To catch up, yeah. That's the idea. So, but with the media especially, we have really big problem because the university courses are far beyond the current needs. So what are we doing now, for example, in CNBC? We actually, this kind of struggling in the market with the resources, we had it from the beginning, 20 years back when we started CNBC. We had the same dilemma because we need business people, but with media talent. You need business talented people, with media abilities to appear on screen, to talk, to write the business material in a news style. So we had that combination and that struggle. Now we have the same struggle now. We need to write the news in a way that could be consumed on Twitter, on Facebook, on website, and on TV at the same time. And you need the talent of the journalist who will be able to do the shooting, post it on the new media, and have it on the TV. So this is what I call all the time the integrated journalist. Now, I guess for the coming 10 years, the media platforms will look for the integrated journalist who will be able to do all of these jobs.
Absolutely, yeah. It's a situation where you've got to be multi-talented in several different areas. And so as we come to the end of the session, I'm going to kind of like put the crystal ball out there, and I'm going to ask each of you to look at the future and what is happening now for your individual organizations, for the media industry, for the banking industry as well. If I can start with you, Alan.
I mean, for us, I think we're on that continual journey to better understand the audience. And I think that's going to take us into different routes for both business models and for products. I actually think that over time, you'll start seeing, from a news perspective, on different platforms, you'll start seeing different news approaches to that packaging. So storytelling will become different depending on which platform you're on, but actually storytelling will become different depending on which story you're reading. So some will be shorter, some will be longer, some will be more integrated with different forms of multimedia and interactivity. But the fundamentals for us as a business is knowing that audience, driving engagement with that audience and understanding the needs, which I think helps to drive the business model as well. So there's more sophisticated technology here, both in terms of the product innovation that you're going to see, as well as the understanding of the audience and data, which I think will drive more successful news outlets.
Well, I will take some inspiration from His Highness Sheikh Mohammed. He said 6 beautiful words: imagine it, design it, execute it. And I think that is going to be the future. And if you see a lot of content, if it was Matrix or if it was Avatar, it is the creation of imagination. And so is tech. So, we are hearing so much about crypto. We are hearing about blockchain. Media and banking, where they're going to meet is on the blockchain. And that is all about somebody imagining it, somebody designing it, the algorithms, and somebody executing it, and we all using it. And that's where I would leave it.
How is the blockchain going to influence the media that you create?
I think it is just a matter of time. The initial start off would be in terms of consumption. There would be a new model in advertising wherein you could actually mine a crypto. If I'm watching more of, I could actually mine in something on Z5 or on Netflix. There could be a tokenization and a coin there. The more you watch, and you would be actually moving away from even a newer revenue stream.
I actually think blockchain plays a part with data and people managing their own data to see what they want to see and see who they're integrating
Absolutely.
with.
Yeah.
Interesting. I'm sure you have a lot to add to that, Olivier.
Yes, so exactly what said Manoj, right, is already starting, right? You see with the NFT, when you can own your own kind of NBA kind of shoot, right? That you can own and so I really think we are going to merge there as well. And there's a lot of things happening, and for us, we need to understand what are the change with cryptos, smart contract coming up. It's going to be a real revolution in banking, because a lot of things, right, that we have never been able to do in the past. Like, for example, I started my banking career in security services. And when you buy securities, you can never have what we call a true delivery versus payment. Exchange exactly at the same time between the securities and the cash. But with a smart contract, you can really make that happen. So, and NFT as well, right, is happening. And on the Metaverse, in fact, if you look at, I don't know which newspapers, they bought some space, I think from China or Hong Kong, right? They bought some space on a sandbox Metaverse. And yeah, and they are experimenting now what they are going to do. But also there you will have banks, you will have a lot of organization. We need to follow as well. We have to follow where the client, where the readers are going to be. And I think a lot are going to be in that space.
I think NFTs is quite interesting because Paris Hilton's just been in Dubai to launch her NFTs. We were doing an interview with her, but that's a fascinating combination, isn't it?
Mohammed.
I'll be going back to what I said at the beginning, changing the mindset of creating the media product. Now, in the past, we were having the message, and then we create or we try to find the suitable device or suitable mechanism to deliver it. Now, we need to think out of the box. We need to jump to the technology and to create the proper message that fit that technology. Technology is going very fast, and if we don't, if we will not be ahead of it, or at least at the same level, we will be left behind, actually.
I think that's definitely the theme of the day, that we have a lot to catch up with and a lot to look forward to as well. But that brings us to the end of the panel. I want to thank all of our distinguished guests here today, Mohammed Burhan, Olivier Crespin, Manoj Matthew, and Alan Griffin. Please join me in thanking them all. Thank you, gentlemen. An amazing discussion today. And so I want to thank all of our speakers who appeared with us today at this edition of the ABLF Talks. And thank you to everybody who has been watching at home as well. And don't forget, all of these sessions are going to be available online as well on the ABLF City platform, as well as the ABLF YouTube channel as well. If you haven't already subscribed, make sure you do, so that anytime a new session drops, you will be the first to know as well. My name is Sally Musa. Thank you so much for joining us for this edition. We can't wait for the next one, and we can't wait to have you with us at the ABLF Talks. Thank you so much.